Welcome to the Remembering Session. I am Chrystal Hart, QHHT, BQH practitioner, and your host of the Remembering Session. Today, I am so excited about the conversation we are about to have. I have with us Ashlie Morris, and she's a single mom to two amazing daughters and the founder of ALM Media Management, a business she's been building for the past 2.5 years. Through her work, she specializes in social media guidance, social media management, podcast production, and content creation, helping businesses and organizations share their stories and strengthen their presence online. Building her business has happened alongside a very personal journey of growth and balance. As an entrepreneur and a mother, she's learned that success isn't just about what you build externally, but also about the work you do internally to stay grounded and aligned. Welcome, Ashlie. I'm so excited. I cannot wait.
I know, right? Same.
Well, I'm so excited because you had your session with me, your QHHT session, about 6 weeks ago or so, if I remember correctly, a couple of days before your birthday.
Yes. Yeah.
So to kick us off and get us started, can you just tell us a little bit about where you were prior to your QHHT session?
So for a lot of us, 2020 was like a pause moment where a lot of us had to reflect and look inwards. I mean, we had no choice. And so I started on a holistic lifestyle and really looking inward and working on healing past traumas and things like that. And so leading up to the experience that I shared with you with QHHT, I'm wanting to heal me as a whole. I'm wanting to be the best version of myself I possibly can, especially being a single mom with two preteen and teenage daughter that they're watching me and they see everything I do and how I handle things. And so I just want to be the best version I can, mainly for them. But in the midst of that, for myself, I feel like every relationship that you have, it really shows outwardly how much you love yourself as to like who you're placing around yourself. So I've really focused on different things. I have a therapist. I've had a therapist for a while, but there's only so much that therapy can do. And so I believe in certain things that you do as well when it comes to energy, frequencies, things like that. So I'm like, when I heard about QHHT, which I had never heard about before, me and you had met because of Arthur, your husband, and he was telling me what you did, and then the sound baths and all of that. And so I'm like, I have got to see what this QHHT is about. Just hearing hypnosis in there, I'm like, I've heard of, different things of people being hypnotized and whatnot. And so it's not that I don't believe it. I'm like, but I want to experience it. So I didn't do any research beforehand. I just knew it was QHHT. I didn't even look up the definition. I was like, I just want to experience this to the fullest. Yeah.
And I love that you came in like that because not a lot of people do. They want to do the research. They want to know, what is it going to be like? And for me, I mean, I understand both. Like sometimes I can be an over researcher and sometimes I can just surrender and just go, you know what? I'm going to trust the process and I'm going to trust that I'm doing this. And this is the way where my soul has led me to go. And so I'm going to go with that. And sometimes we change the experience and we have an expectation when we do so much research and we don't allow the journey to unfold the way that it should unfold because now we've placed our own ego, our own conscious mind into the mix, which is really what we don't want in sessions. So
Yes.
the way you
Social media is so oversaturated with things, that you can go down a rabbit hole and then it's like 3 hours later and you're like, oh, should I really do this? I don't know. So it's good to just get maybe a definition of it. Don't let anything else influence. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so QHHT, when it was really created by Dolores Cannon back in the 70s, it was based around past life regression, which is wonderful. That's great because that's what people were really mostly experiencing was past life regression. And as we've moved through, in 50 years, things have changed a lot. And people won't always have a regression. And sometimes it's like if you're going to get a past life regression, you're getting that past life because it is impacting your current life. You're not just going to get a past life just for the fun of it most of the time, unless you do a lot of past life regressions.
Like, oh, you were a princess and you lived in a castle.
Yeah. Well, they can be very boring and mundane, which is why I do love, the idea of the podcast. Like we get to talk about it because sometimes that part is very, it's like boring. They lived a very basic life or a short life, whatever it was. But anymore, it's like so much is happening in our current lives. So much healing needs to be done in the present that oftentimes people are staying in this lifetime. And so when we see all of these sessions online and people are, having these outrageous experiences because that's what they're going to show. They're going to show the ones that are getting people's attention. So anyways, coming in with just a very open mind and being okay for whatever, I think is just the perfect way to do it because you help the expectation not be there. So anyway, and
Yes.
thank you for trusting me.
Yes. Yes. It's you're a vibe.
Well, thank you. I try to be. No. Well, in your session, so we do the QHHT and we do it in a two-part session. The first part is the intake, and that is the part where we talk about your health stuff, like so whatever's presenting in the physical body, and then we talk about whatever whatever's been impactful in your life. So you basically tell me your entire life story. So, how did you go about that? How was the intake process?
It was super easy. Like if you just kind of go with, journaling like I have, that helps. That helps. It is hard for me to do, but it helps.
Yeah. How was it sharing your life story?
Of course, when you first do the intro session with you, it's kind of nerve-wracking because you're telling someone like everything, But that's why I say you are a vibe and
Oh, thank
you are someone that all of that should be out the window, like any doubt or any conflict of just putting your story into someone's hands before this experience. It was very freeing. It was very freeing because there's a lot of us have a story. A lot of us have so many traumas, and we don't realize that the person sitting next to you probably went through something just as intense. And we all have our walls up, So that feeling of talking to another person about it, it's intense, but it's so freeing. It's so freeing to
you.
let all that judgment go because you're preparing to experience something that is just going to, like you were saying, ascend you to another level,
Mhm.
that ascension of bringing you to another level
Yeah,
and
raising the
really it
frequency.
wakes you up. After you experience it, it opens your eyes like you've so much clarity. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I love too. It's like we get so in our heads around our stories, and our stories are ours for a reason. We experience these things for a reason. And it is so freeing and so powerful to be able to share our stories. And you do learn, like, I'm not alone in my story. We're only alone in our story when we don't share the story. And
Mhm.
so I love that you experienced that and felt free in sharing. And for me, it's like I used to have a story of my own, just a limiting belief that I couldn't hold space for people in their stories and their things. And it's like that is so untrue. I can hold massive space. And that's what I'm here to do, is to be a space holder for people to be able to share their stories. And I'm just there to hold that space for them
And
and make
that's
them feel
awesome
safe.
because that takes a lot of energy. I can only imagine what you do after sessions just to like clear your own space.
Yeah. It's just how you take care of yourself before the session and then how you take care of yourself after the session. And that determines the amount of space you can hold. So when you prepare for it, you can hold the space. So, anyways, I love the intake portion. I used to think that I was like, "Oh, that's not that important." Like when I was in my first few sessions, and immediately I was like, oh, this is so important just because
Right.
it gets the person to just talk and to get everything out. You also start to see patterns of things and why they've shown up that help you to prepare for your QHHT session and maybe tweak and change what questions you're asking too, based upon what comes up in the intake process too. So, well, let's dive into your session. So, as I was talking about, the sessions don't always unfold in the way that it is scriptly supposed to, right? Our higher selves are going to show us whatever is meant to be seen. And if you don't have control over it, then, you never know where you're going to go. So your session unfolded and we went on quite a journey together. Do you want to talk about where we landed in the beginning of your hypnosis session?
Will say it is the most, and I keep saying intense, but it's the most intense thing that I've ever experienced on a level that I don't really remember a lot of the things that I was saying until after I listened to it. When it was going on, mostly what I was remembering was the visual aspect of it. I do remember some of the things I was saying, not everything. Like I would say about 85% of it, I do not remember saying what I was saying. It was more of what I was seeing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's an interesting thing too, because it's like you're seeing, but I'm not seeing it. So I'm just waiting for you to tell me, and that can be the hard part because it's like you're experiencing so much. And, I need that picture to know like what is going on. But as I remember it, you landed, I believe, first, and I took notes because we went through a process. And I feel like at first you were in energy, if I remember correctly. And I do remember that it was very emotional.
Yeah. Yes. I want to say this before you go in because I want to see if this is what you get from it. So when I was listening back to it and when I wrote it all down, it was almost like as if to go from the womb to childbirth to a euphoric universal level of like you're being born but you're not quite there yet.
Hmm.
And then it like brought me to levels of childhood and then levels of being a preteen to a teen to an adult.
Yes.
So it took me a while to listen back to it.
Hmm.
I didn't listen to it until just the beginning of this week. So
Yeah.
it was almost like the steps of what you went through from being in the womb to where you are now.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. Yeah. And sometimes that womb space, it's hard to, you're not really seeing a lot. It's more tapping into the feeling.
Right.
But if I remember correctly, you felt so loved and supported in that space.
I remember crying, and I
Yeah.
remember saying, "I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because I feel the level of love around me." And it is so immense that it
Hmm.
like, right now, just to feel that again, yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely puts everything into perspective.
Yeah, I could feel that from you, and the emotion did come really early. The thing and I love that when, like, the emotion comes, it's like, feel that,
Yeah,
whatever's coming through, and sometimes when you feel the amount of love that you're feeling in these sessions, it's so overwhelming, there's, like,
exactly.
what else can you do? You're, like, crying in the beauty of it all, really.
There really was no words, it really was just a
Mhm.
feeling of you've never been alone, and even though you may go through life in certain points being alone, you're not. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it was really, really beautiful. And then you moved through some different scenes in your childhood too, which were beautiful memories. They were happy places. And so it's like sometimes we also receive some of those happy moments that we need to remember that we had. It's so the unhappiness or the unhappy times, they're so loud a lot of times.
a
And
lot
we
of
for
people fix on that. They fix
Mhm.
on that, and then all of the good times get blurred out. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that that was such a beautiful gift.
yeah. I agree, and I wrote it down. It was literally like all the moments from my childhood that I held so dear because me being an 80s baby, like when we would go ride our bike and go on adventures, like we
Mhm.
knew to come back home when the street lights were coming on or we heard the whistle. That was a big time for me of memories. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, did anything surprise you in the way that it unfolded?
Literally just reevaluating it and putting it into perspective from all the things that I was visually seeing to the moments. It was like it was walking me through my life. It was literally like walking me through my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It was really, really beautiful. And we went back after the memories. You were then again energy. at the end, you went back and you were energy. And again, that feeling of that love and support and being connected to everything.
Yes, that's what I felt. Like when you were asking me, do you see yourself? There were certain points. I think there was only one time that I could see myself, but mainly the most of it, I could not see myself. I could feel myself, and I could just feel that I was energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that again, I think was you felt very emotional about just being that remembering that we're all connected.
And that's what I am a big believer in, that our energy, it does not fade, it does not go away. Even in this body to the next, our energy is forever. It's constant.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that came through several times in different visions you were having was gold butterflies, and you were just like, "Oh, there's the gold butterflies." And, I was like, "Oh, interesting." And so I looked up, well, what's the meaning of a gold butterfly? And the meaning is personal transformation.
That's all I felt the whole time, literally. And it's funny because I'm one to look up symbolism, like, especially when it comes to dreams and things. So I didn't even think to look that up. Aside from the gold butterflies, I kept seeing what would be the same outline of like the gold butterflies was the silhouette of faces. Now, not like a defined face like you and me, but it was just like a few of them all around. They would fade out, come back. And I've had experiences like that in the wake of, our day to day. I've had that feeling before. It's not that I see it, but I had that same feeling as to what I was seeing in my mind during the session.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. So as we moved through, I always ask what was the purpose of the visions that came through? Like why did our higher self choose what came through? And your higher self said a reminder of love and peace.
And that's what I feel like I'm craving so much right now. It's
Right.
just solid peace. I think so many of us are raised on chaos and constant chaos that we think that that's normal. And so when you get to a certain point as an adult where you're doing that work inwardly and you're really slowing down, it's uncomfortable and it seems like it's so boring. And I'm like, "Oh, I don't want this." And of course, some of us will reach for a little bit of drama, which is not, don't go that way. But that's what I've been doing this last year is really slowing myself down to where I am so uncomfortable, but I'm reminding myself this is actually what is normal. This is what you're
Yeah.
supposed to be feeling. You need to pause. You need to
Mhm.
have that downtime. It might feel boring, of course, but it's what the body needs because we've constantly thrived on chaos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's what our nervous system gets used to. And so that's where it wants us to be. I talk to clients a lot about how we are so addicted to our own chaos. And so even when we start, even when I was on my own personal journey of, not living in fight, flight, all the crazy chaos I was living in, there was a point as I was like my nervous system was like coming down, like I would start to bring things in to raise it up because this was my baseline. I'm like, wait a second, my baseline isn't down here. My baseline's up here. And so I'd bring things in, but I'd have to really acknowledge that, like, oh, I see what you did there.
That's what I've been doing this last year. It's been really hard, but it's getting easier and easier. And the amount of guilt that you feel in the beginning because you're like, I shouldn't be slowing down this much. No, 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 no. Yes, yes. Stop feeling guilt. Don't
Yeah.
feel guilt. Self
Mm,
grace.
yeah. We're supposed to be human beings, not human doings, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, beautiful. So we moved into the next portion of the session and we got to ask for healing and you got to ask, or I got to ask your questions to your higher self. So as we moved through that process, again, there were a lot of themes that came through, even around the healing. And so can you tell us about what the healing was like for you and maybe what you've noticed since session?
Since then, I used to deal with like a lot of lower back pressure. I haven't dealt with any of that. Or like knee pain because I've had two knee surgeries from torn ACLs. I've not had any pressure in that. And the number one was migraines. I used to get migraines so often. It was at least like twice a month. And I've only had one. I've only had one migraine since then, and our session was back in January.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially with what I do, I am constantly on computer screens and devices. So that's huge because usually I can go like 2 days of working on my computer. By the third day, I have a migraine. And so, like I said, I've only had one, and that's it.
Well, and in asking for healing around things and asking why is that happening, our higher self or subconscious will tell us like why this is happening. And so we got the answers. And so it's like if you are getting a migraine, were you able to notice like, oh, what do I need to do? Or where am I allowing this stress to come in that's creating this?
Definitely, it's been the stress factors. I've been really, like I said, this last year, I've been working on slowing down, cutting back my stress level, not overthinking because I tend to do that a lot. And then
Well,
just the
I want to
drinking
just
of water.
I wanna say what I wrote down that your subconscious said specific to the migraines was release control.
Yep, that is my biggest problem. Anyone who knows me will agree.
Yes. Yeah. And so it's like as that migraine built up, where were we holding on and not just releasing and surrendering, you know?
Yep.
And so that's what I love about these sessions too. It's like when we get those nuggets, we can start to notice when these things start to come through and we start to feel these things in our body. Our body speaks to us if we just listen to it.
Yes, yes. And the biggest thing that I've been trying to tell myself is, and I remind myself this all the time, you only control yourself. You can't control every little detail, every
No.
single thing. And I think reminding yourself that every day, it's hard when you're a single parent, kids, running your own business, constantly having to focus on not letting the bottom fall out. And that's where I have to stop and remind myself, you only control what you can control, which is yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we're controlling and over controlling, we're not allowing in the blessings and the miracles.
Uh-huh.
We're trying to control all the outcomes when sometimes there's an even better outcome if we just release.
Yes, that's 100%. And the last, I say, year and a half, that's what I dealt with was walking away and letting go of certain situations in my life that I needed to let go of to transcend. And it's been pivotal. It's been pivotal because since then it's not just on a physical level, it's also on a mental level of letting go of things.
Yeah, sometimes we're holding on to old frequencies that do not serve us. And so it's like whether that be people, jobs, it's many, many things. Everything holds and carries energy and holds a frequency. And sometimes those low frequencies are meant to be released so that we can truly raise our frequency and rise.
I agree in that.
Yeah. Well, what was it like hearing your higher self speak through you and answering your questions?
Uh, like I said, it took me a while to listen back to it, but when I finally listened to it, it was like I was back in the session, but awake to it. So I'm sitting there crying, listening, writing notes down, but I guess euphoric is the word because like I said, I didn't go in this with any knowledge. I never thought that I could be hypnotized, but I was open to it, anything's possible. So to actually experience it and then hear it, life changing. Absolutely life changing, and I wish more people would be open to things like this. It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Did it help you to recognize what that voice is?
I think of it as it's the voice that I've always been hearing, like just trusting myself. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Don't doubt yourself. It's that intuition that we hear and we all question it. And so that's just how I feel about it. It's put everything into perspective as to Ashley. Your intuition has always been spot on, but you were the one doubting it.
What do you think was the most impactful and most transformational thing that came through? And I know what it is, and I'm so excited for you to say it because I think as a collective, this is what we all need to remember and hear.
So when you asked me if there was one thing that could be said to tell Ashley, was almost hearing me say it. It was like, it was so excited to say it, you know? And I say it as my subconscious, as
Mhm.
the ones around, spirit around. Trust the soul that's been with you longer than the body. As soon as I heard that, I had to stop it. I dropped my notebook. I said, let me rewind that because I do not remember saying that at all.
Yeah.
Not one bit. I do not remember that. And so to hear that, I had goosebumps and was just like, I have to write that down. Trust
Yeah.
the soul that's been with you longer than the body. Yeah.
Mic
Yeah.
drop.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would life be like if we all did that?
I was just having this conversation with my kids last night that, everybody has their beliefs and we can go back to the Bible with Jesus Christ as a man. What did he really want for us? To be happy and coexist and all be on this positive level. Now, I will say, and I wasn't planning on doing this, but I believe in a higher power. I believe that Jesus was a man and he had special abilities. And this might cause some controversy, but as a whole, that's where we are at today. It's like when it was 2020, we were all in the same collective mindset and same energy. And that's why so many of us right now are awakened and wanting to be on this level of healing, not just physically doing better, treating our bodies better, but on this mental level of all of us wanting to coexist and be happy. And you can feel certain connections, like when I'm around you, that you just feel that level of vibration and frequency. And that's really what it's all about. It's just heightened level of vibration and frequency. And if everybody was on that, you wouldn't even have to explain anything, you know?
Right. Right. Well, and when you talk about 2020, why was there such a huge awakening in 2020? That's when my awakening happened. It was because we paused.
Yes.
And that is why the sacredness of our daily pauses are so important. It's because we have to do that to go within, to ascend within ourselves so that we can raise our frequency and rise. And that is what I believe Jesus wanted us to do. I
Yes.
believe that is exactly, he wanted us to go here. He wanted us to go within so that we could raise our frequency and remember what we were here and what we were born to do and our power within. And
Yes.
until we pause, there's so much noise externally
Mhm.
that we could drown ourselves out for our lives. Or we could pause, listen, and come within and remember who we are and what we're here to do.
I agree. I agree fully.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that. I think you should take that clip, even that voice clip, that should be like a mantra that you listen to every day. It's so powerful to hear things,
I
you know?
literally have been repeating it every day
Love it.
since I heard
Yeah.
it. It's a constant now. Like if I have a moment where I'm kind of like overwhelmed or I'm kind of questioning things again, I literally will say that. Or if I forget how I had said it, I'll go back and look at it and then reread it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, now our listeners have it as well.
Trust the soul that's been with you longer than the body.
So powerful. It's just so, so powerful. And yeah, these are the nuggets that we get in these sessions that are just like, okay, that just changed my life. Just that one phrase.
I remember when I was listening, I had my headphones in. Um, and just hearing that, I literally stopped it as soon as I heard that. And I was like, no way, I didn't say that. I don't remember saying that. Yes, very intense, very life changing for myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what was one answer that impacted you the most? Besides that one, we know that one really impacted you, but was there something else? You had several questions. Was there something else that was like that just changed my life right there? Like it's something that has been with me, and now that I know,
Honestly, all of it, but just being reminded as to there were certain times in my life that when I was alone, I did feel safe, but I never put into perspective why I felt safe and that whole of togetherness of whoever may be around me guiding me, even though I feel and I know who they are, that was put into perspective.
yeah,
Don't doubt that. That is what you're feeling.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that we talked about, and I would love for you to share with everyone, is we talked about a presence being around you and your daughters. And do you want to talk about that and how that has been since our session?
So since my oldest was younger, I'd say it started at about 4 years old. She's 14 now. She has been super sensitive. She has seen things, she has heard things. A lot of people question that, but that is okay. Since having this session, her sensitivity has heightened to a level that she's slightly annoyed because she doesn't know how to process it. I talk to her occasionally about it, and she's getting better at how she conversates with what is attached to her, or sh I don't know how to put it into words. But how it's, like, connecting with her, or and she
Hmm.
may be able to hear it and things like that. She's learning, but she's still overwhelmed by it, and same for my youngest. She doesn't have as much sensitivity as my oldest does, but she does have some. I do
Yeah.
as well. Not to the level that my oldest daughter has. But
Yeah.
since my session with you, it has heightened tenfold. Tenfold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got answers about that. We asked about who was around and if there was a presence in session. And that was a really beautiful moment for you too, and
Mhm.
a very emotional, but it was also just that confirmation of what is there. And I love that you get to have that conversation with your daughters, because the truth is that as children, we do have gifts and we forget them as we go through life. And as adults, we get to help our kids embrace their gifts so that they don't have to be in their 40s to remember
Right.
these gifts that we were naturally here to do. And we get to embrace the gifts in our children's and help them to hone them, help them to understand that they can create boundaries around their gifts. Sometimes, if the spirit's coming and talking to us in the middle of the night, we need our sleep, as humans, and to take care of our bodies so we can
Yes.
ask for them to not be so loud at night. And if they could speak to us at a different time, we get to do that. And our kids don't know how to do that. And instead, they get scared or they don't want it. And so they'll push it away and then it'll come back later, hopefully, or they might forget altogether. And so it's like as adults, we get the opportunity to help them and to say, you can tell that to not talk to you at 3 a.m. You could
Yeah.
say, I really appreciate your guidance. Thank you for coming through. But
That's
could we talk at a different time?
That's literally what I've been having to tell my oldest, yeah, because the first time that it happened, she had some words, and I was like, "It's not negative. You've been dealing with this for a long time. It's something that's protective, and so maybe not so negative to it, and just one word as to or 2 words, be quiet."
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say that my dreams have intensified since then. I did have a physical experience that I didn't mention this
Mm.
beforehand, but I did have a physical experience in the early morning hours that had me sitting up and looking around. Yeah, so energy has heightened around my house right now.
Yeah, very cool. And in dreams, those are important for us to write those down. I mean, there's so many things that can come through in our dreams. And
Mm.
so writing them down, because just like session, just like a hypnosis session or a Reiki session or anything, it's like things will come through. But, being in that theta state, it will quickly leave, which is basically kind of what we're in our dream state. So it's like write it down because there is such important messages being delivered in those.
Yes. Yes.
Very, very, very cool. Well,
Mm.
is there anything else that it feels important to mention about talking to your subconscious, your higher self, about the session itself that we didn't go over before we move on to the transformation?
I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think so.
Yeah. Well, I just love reliving the experience because it's just
Yes.
so incredible. And I could tell, there's a lot of times with clients as they're going through the process and they're experiencing things. As a practitioner, I just know I'm like, oh, this is going to be a big deal. And I definitely got that feeling the whole way through your session. I was
Yes.
like, oh, she is getting so much right now, so much clarity. so much clarity in who she's supposed to be. Like, not only, I mean, who she is, but just who she's stepping into being. And oh, one of the things I wanted to mention was for you, being a teacher kept coming through.
Yeah, I did. I wrote that down too. Yes. Yeah. Being a teacher. There's so many things that I've been through, and I've been in therapy with my amazing therapist for a while, and I'm always taking notes or writing little quotes, and so many people come to me for guidance, and I tell this to them too. I'm like, just because I'm saying something to you, I don't want you to take it like I'm not saying it to myself. Because as
Mhm.
I'm sending you something that you might relatable or whatever you're going through, I'm saying it to myself too.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
we're all meant to go through this together. Some of us have more clarity than others, and I've always felt that way. Just so many people, they come to me to vent or for guidance, and it's always been that way. It's
Yeah.
always been that way. Yeah, aside from what I'm doing for my business too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we always teach what we need to hear. That's just the way it always is, you know? So often I catch myself telling somebody something and I'm like, "Oh, I need that one too." You know, where
Yes.
those mirror reflections. It's like,
Yep.
"Yep, I needed that just as much as you did. That's just as much for me as it is you."
Yep, yep, and I'll always remind myself too when I have little moments, I'm like, "Ashley, practice what you preach. Remember what you were saying."
Yes.
Yes, yeah,
Yes, we have to be able to listen to our own advice, right?
yes, yes.
Well, tell me a little bit about the transformation, the days after the session.
I went through It was kind of like this period of, they call it shadow work. So it's kind of like you're not depressed, but you're feeling everything like all at once, and that's really what it was for me. That's why it took me so long to re listen to it. I was kind of just like playing certain things back in my mind, sharing it with family members. And once I finally listened to it again, that's where it was just like it just hit me in the face, but it was definitely a time period from what was that? January 20th to just the beginning of this week, so we'll say the beginning of March, where I've definitely felt like this shadow period,
Mhm.
aside from everything that's going on right now too, Mercury retrograde, and it's Friday the today.
Yeah.
That's what it's felt like. So it's almost like this transitional phase. And I feel like a rocket that's building up momentum to totally
Yeah.
take off and just, yeah.
Well, I think it was really beautiful the way that your session unfolded and the timing, because when we think about it, in January, it was the coming to the end of the year of the snake, the shedding, right? And
Yes.
so, in going through your session, right, you're having that final shedding,
Yes.
kind of coming through. And then as we launch into the year of the fire horse in February, there's still integration time that needs to happen, especially if you did major shedding
Yeah.
in the year of the snake.
And
And so
that's what it felt like, because I forgot to bring that up too. That's literally what it was like that during that time period. And I'm an Aquarius. I'm right on the cusp of being a Capricorn. So right now is a really pivotal time for me being, on the cusp of Aquarius and Capricorn too. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to allow whenever we do the work and do the shadow work, we have to allow the time for the integration, right? The
Yep.
quiet time of the integration. And it's like if we don't allow that, then we're not embodying the work that we just did. We're not allowing our physical bodies to really change the frequency of the work that we just did. We're not attuning to that new frequency. And so it's like we have to kind of have that internal hermit space as our frequency adjusts to this new level that we just uncovered in doing our shadow work.
Everything that you just said, that is exactly what I've been practicing these last few months. I've
Yeah.
been giving myself grace in it. I'm not feeling guilty about it. I'm allowing myself that rebalance and rebirth, so to speak. So I knew that I needed to go through this section of pause, deep pause, hibernation as I call it. Yeah.
You don't want to not want to bypass the integration because if you do, the work you just did is not going to be as effective.
That's when you just get those repeat scenarios. Are you gonna go for this again? Are you gonna
Mhm.
repeat that action again?
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Then we get to relearn it again
Yeah.
and again and
Yep.
again. It's like,
It's the
nope.
universe. Are you done yet?
Yeah. It's so much easier if you just allow the space, the quiet time, the quiet moments, and allow the system to just take it in, recalibrates.
Yes.
Well, I love that you're doing that. And I love that you gave yourself the time and the space. And I also love that you re listened. It is the gift that keeps giving if we re listen to the session. So don't let it be the last time you listen. It's
No.
like, when you
No.
start to feel yourself, like, "Oh, I need that again. I need to remember what it sounds like when my higher self is coming through." There are nuggets that we can't even take it all in at that one time.
That's so crazy because these are conversations that I was literally having with my kids last night. So, like,
Mhm.
everything that we can process as a human, like, it's so overwhelming that a lot of it we cannot process. So, breaking down your session and listening to it multiple times, I plan on doing that. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's so intense. It's so intense.
Yeah.
Because, yeah,
Yeah. Well, and people think, "Oh, I remember my session. I
no,
remember it."
that's exactly how I felt. I'm like, oh, I remember it. And then when I finally listened to it, I'm like, what happened? What happened?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You know some of what happened. Like, you get kind of the bits and the pieces.
Yes.
But there's real nuggets in there, and they're there for you, and it's there for you for years. Like,
Yes.
there are people that, I mean, years and years down the line are still going back and listening to their QHHT sessions because there's so much in this one session that and it'll drop differently. It's like if you read a book at a different level, right? You can read a book and you're at
True.
this level, and then you reread it again when you're at this level, and it hits that next level, and it's like, oh, I didn't get that the first time. And
Yes.
that's the same thing as your QHHT. It's like, as you're continuing and you're evolving and you're going through things, listen to your session because there's more there for you that you couldn't hear when you were down here. And now that you've evolved to this next frequency, now you're ready to hold it at this space and at this level.
Yes. Very much so. I don't I there it's so hard to really purely put it into words unless you experience it. You
Yeah.
really have to just experience it. What feels like 15 minutes is not 15 minutes. How
Yeah.
long was it? About 2.5 hours?
Yeah. You were hypnotized for 2 hours.
It did not.
Exactly.
It felt like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big session. It's a long session, but it is so effective. And so when you put the time in and let it be, it's just so powerful.
It is. It truly is.
So, have you noticed, I'm curious, any changes in relationships, just in general?
I hold a higher standard and value to the people that I put around myself as to that whole factor that we fight with and struggle with as to our self worth. And I remember my grandmother telling me as a teenager, you are the company you keep. And I remember her telling me that at a young age. And I'm like, I might just hang out with them, but they're cool, But then you realize as an adult, like the certain circles and frequencies that they're at will start to drag you down if they're in a negative space and a draining energy, it just brings you down. So you really I've defined my new circles as to being on the same level that I am, or maybe even supersede that so that I can elevate to that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
rise together. I love that. That's beautiful. Well, in reflection, looking back now, what feels like the most significant thing about your session?
It was the reminder of everything that I would always overthink on and question, and it was just put right there. It was just put right there. Like it's been with me all along. That's why the last thing I said, that really just defined it for me, and reconfirming that the energies that I do feel around me are the ones that I know are around me, which it's so hard to say that still because I think it's the doubt from others. You know what I mean? Even though it doesn't
Mhm.
matter what others may think. That's the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you have to fill your circles with people that believe.
Yep. Yep, that's where I'm at with it too. And I still love the expressions of some people that have that doubt too. And I'm like, well, that's that if you don't agree and you don't feel that, I respect it.
I always think it's a not yet.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, beautiful. And for anybody thinking about this work, what would you say to them?
Just do it. Just do it. Just Just trust that if you've crossed paths at the time that it's supposed to be in front of you, just do it. Don't try to do all this research on it. Don't try to like sit and go down the rabbit holes because you're like questioning doing it. Just do it.
Yeah, I agree. Your higher self has led you to the session and it knows what it wants to show you and what you're ready to see. And so surrender.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Well, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being with me today. Thank you for trusting me to be your guide. I am truly honored and grateful. And just really, really, I feel so blessed to know you and to be able to watch you and
Mhm.
watch you as you continue to grow and evolve and to be the teacher you're meant to be.
I appreciate that as well, and I feel blessed that we've crossed paths, and I believe everything happens for a reason. And I think that more people need to pay attention to that, to those little moments, like it's supposed to be. Yeah.
I do too. Well, thank you all for tuning in and listening to the Remembering session. Have a great week.